I'm standing amongst the rubble of many apartment blocks that have been deliberately demolished in the Huruma slum. Just in front of me is the location of where one apartment block collapsed, and tragically 100 people lost their lives, including little Brandon, 4-year-old boy who's a part of the Faraha family. He and his siblings and his father tragically lost their lives. We stand in the midst of a slum, and we're in the area of a slum which is really just a swamp. That's what it's called. And some greedy slumlord decides to build apartment blocks here because he can make quick money. He goes to see the building inspector. He bribes him to overlook the shoddy building materials, the insufficient foundations. And for a few $100s, the building inspector turns a blind eye and turns an apartment block into a funeral casket for over 100 people. That's corruption. And that's what happens day in, day out in a place like this. The UN defines slums as places of insecure residential status. Insecure. Of course it's insecure because of the environment in which they're allowed to live. Insecure? It's only insecure because of human greed. That's the only reason. The human cost of inadequate, incomplete structures that have been built goes something like this here. Firstly, the land is cheap because it's a floodplain. This literally is a swamp. Not only is there a river flowing 25 yards from my shoulder, but we're downhill from the rest of the slum. And when it rains, it all comes down here. No wonder you can buy cheap land here. Within their homes, there are the lack of screens to protect them from insects and mosquitoes, which sadly malaria is still the #1 killer in East Africa. Beyond the inadequate screens, the walls themselves are porous, where rodents live or insect pests, which brings so much disease to particularly babies and little children. And then beyond that there, the concrete floors harbour pathogens, the agents that carry disease, particularly again for little children or babies. This is what makes even the buildings in which people live hazardous to health, let alone the rest of life in a slum. Insecure residential status, that's being kind. Here in Huruma, nothing much is secure. And that is why Faraha is so critical and vital to the life of many of the people who live here. Faraha provides security amongst the insecurity. They're here. They've been here for 11 years. They're solid. They're reliable. When the disaster struck and the building came down, it was the Faraha Centre that became the HQ of rescue operations. When a fire happened back here in 2013, it was Faraha who were there rallying the community. Back in 2008, where this slum turned amongst itself and genocide happened and there was nearly civil war, who were the guys that were there that brought security and a presence? It was Faraha. Every day when the children reach the school to learn and they're cared for and given food. Every day when the social workers walk the alleyways to find the forgotten family and be there for them and stand with them. In the midst of insecurity, Faraha is secure. Thank you, Faraha, for being faithful, for being strong, for being true.